You may not have noticed, but it was your presence that saved someone. In their most difficult moment when they felt completely lost, you were the one who showed up. You were the one who reached out, even without knowing the burden they carried. They tried to hide it, tried to pretend everything was fine, but you saw beyond that. You stayed when everyone else walked away. You spoke when the silence felt suffocating. You cared when no one else seemed to notice. And it was right there in the worst moment that this person realized you are essential. You don't need recognition. You don't need applause. But know that, because of you, someone found the strength to go on. You may never have realized the impact you made, but someone in silence felt your presence as a relief in the midst of chaos. On the day when everything seemed meaningless, you were there. Without promises, without rehearsed speeches, without the obligation to carry the world on your shoulders. You simply stayed, and that made all the difference. This person didn't ask for help out loud, but their eyes said it all. You noticed. Even without fully understanding what was going on, you knew something was wrong. You could have ignored it, could have gone on with your life without getting involved, but you didn't. You cared. And that was more than enough for this person to see there were still reasons to keep going. Maybe it was a simple conversation. Maybe it was just a, "I'm here." But it was enough. Because in the midst of the storm, what is needed are not grand gestures, it's presence. And you were that presence. In the moments when this person felt worthless, you showed them they were seen. In the days when they felt like a burden, you made them realize they weren't alone. Maybe she never thanked you the way she wanted. Maybe she distanced herself afterward, trying to understand everything she went through. But she never at any moment forgot what you did. You were the one who stayed. And in the silence of difficult days, this person knows. If it weren't for you, she might have given up. How many times have you been there for others without expecting anything in return? How many times have you reached out without even hearing a thank you? How many times have you seen someone walk away without realizing how much you did for them? You don't seek recognition, but that doesn't mean what you did wasn't essential. Someone, somewhere, remembers your gesture. Maybe they moved on, maybe they changed, maybe today they live a completely different life. But they'll never forget that once upon a time you made a difference. And now maybe it's your turn to need. Maybe it's your turn to wonder if someone would do for you what you did for others. And I tell you, someone sees you. Maybe not in the way you expect. Maybe without grand gestures, but someone at some point knows your importance. And one day, just as you change the path of someone will show you that your existence was never overlooked. You may have never heard this clearly. You may have never received the words you truly deserve to hear. But someone in silence carries within them the certainty that you made all the difference. This person may have gone their own way, they may even seem distant now. But at some moment in life, when everything felt too heavy, it was you who showed up. You gave yourself, even tired, even with your own battles to face. You stayed when it would have been easier to walk away. And it wasn't because you expected something in return. It wasn't because you wanted recognition or a beautiful thank you. You did it because you felt you needed to. Because you knew that person couldn't handle it alone. And even without realizing it, you gave her exactly what no one else could, the strength to carry on. This doesn't mean everything was easy. You carried weights that weren't yours. You wiped away tears that were never explained. You tried to offer words when you didn't even know if they were being heard. And many times you were left without a response. Time passed, things changed. And maybe today you're wondering if it was all worth it. If anyone truly saw everything you did. The answer is yes. It may not have been demonstrated in the way you expected. It may have been silent, it may have been discreet. But someone sees you. Someone remembers. And even if they never said it, that person is grateful. Grateful because in that moment, without you knowing, your presence held something that was about to collapse. Grateful because in the middle of the pain, you didn't turn your back. Grateful because, without realizing it, you were the light in the darkness. Perhaps now it's your turn to feel alone. Perhaps now it's you who wonders if anyone would notice your absence. And I tell you, yes, they would notice. Someone will still show you that your presence has always held value. That everything you did, without expecting anything in return, will come back to you in unexpected ways. Because the good you did was not in vain. Because life always finds a way to return everything we offer. And no matter how much time passes, no matter how much memories are hidden in the routine and busy days, one thing never changes: the impact you made. Because it's not the grand gestures that remain. It's those small moments, those details that seemed insignificant at the time, but that were capable of changing everything for someone. You might not remember the time you just stood there listening, without interrupting. But that person remembers. You might not have thought much of the day you sent a message asking if everything was okay. But to that person, it was the only sign that someone still cared. You may feel that your presence hasn't made much of a difference, but for her it was the difference between giving up and continuing on. And you know what else? That person has never forgotten you. She may not have shown it. She may have distanced herself. She may have moved on without looking back. But inside her, there's a piece of your presence that has never left. Because those who lift us up when we are down are never forgotten. Those who stay when everyone else has gone are never erased from memory. And maybe today you wonder, but what about me? Who's by my side? Because it's exhausting to always be the one who supports, who holds others up, who carries the weight of others without having someone to share their own burdens. It's draining to be the safe harbor when no one seems to notice that you too need shelter. But listen closely. Someone sees you. Someone whom you might not even realize draws inspiration from you. Someone mirrors your strength, your way of giving, the way you make the impossible seem light. And one day when you least expect it, that same energy you've spread throughout the world, that same kindness you gave without measuring efforts, will come back to you. Maybe in an unexpected way. Maybe through someone you could never have imagined. But it will come back, because life finds ways to return everything we do. And you, who were the strength for someone when no one else stood by, will one day see that strength turn back to you. And when that day comes, you will understand. You will realize that every gesture you made, every word you offered, every time you stood by without expecting anything in return was never in vain. Life has silent ways of acting. At the right moment, without warning, everything you have given will come back to you. It could be in an unexpected hug, in a look brimming with gratitude that needs no words. It could be in someone who arrives and does for you exactly what you once did for others. It may be in that moment when you, tired and disillusioned, feel a presence beside you that reminds you, you are not alone. And maybe you thought you would be. Perhaps you convinced yourself that no one noticed, that no one valued you. But someone did notice. Someone remembers your patience, your compassion, your way of being. Someone has repeated your words to another person, because one day those very words helped them move forward. Someone has smiled in silence at the thought of your presence, because it was that presence that made a difference on a bad day. And if today you feel forgotten, if you think no one will ever look at you the way you looked at others, listen closely. Your harvest has not yet come, but the seed has already been planted. Time will bring the answers. Life will find a way to give back. And you will see with your own eyes that every moment you dedicated, every effort you made, every piece of yourself that you offered without hesitation will return to you when you need it most. It may already be coming back. Maybe this message is proof of that. And when that happens, when everything comes back to you in a way you never imagined, you will feel something you haven't felt in a long time: relief. Because you will finally understand that you were not fighting alone, that every gesture you made, every time you went unseen, every word you gave without expecting anything in return was not wasted. You will realize that no matter how much you carried burdens that were not yours, no matter how much you gave without receiving in the same measure, the universe, life, God, or whatever you choose to call it, was watching. And now, it's your turn to be cared for, your turn to be supported, your turn to receive what you have always given. Because the world may seem unfair, people may forget, but the energy you spread does not disappear. It finds paths, crosses barriers, and at the right moment returns. Perhaps it will come back in an unfamiliar face, in someone who appears and offers you what you never imagined you would receive. Maybe it will take the form of an unexpected reunion, someone you once helped who now returns to hold your hand. Or it could simply be a feeling, a certainty that grows inside you, telling you it was worth it, and it will be worthwhile. Because no act of kindness, no compassion, no genuine gesture goes unnoticed. What you did, what you do, matters. And one day, when you least expect it, you will feel this in your bones. You will understand that everything you did without expecting anything in return has always been coming back to you. And when that day comes, you won't need words to comprehend it. You will feel it. You will notice in the calmness that fills your chest, in the weight that begins to lift from your shoulders, in the sense that finally someone sees you the same way you've always seen others. It won't be a grand revelation. It won't come in a theatrical moment like in the movies. It will be subtle, almost imperceptible, but it will be real. Perhaps it will be in the moment someone looks at you with genuine gratitude, or in the instant you catch yourself smiling, for no reason, simply because you feel that something within you is finally in its rightful place. Maybe it will be when, for the first time in a long while, you realize you no longer have to carry everything all by yourself, and that will be the greatest reward of all. Because in the end, it's not about receiving in kind or expecting every person you've helped to return the favor. It's about knowing that what you planted will one day blossom. It's about feeling that, even on the days you felt invisible, you were never forgotten. Your essence, your truth, the way you made a difference without expecting anything in return, all of that remains alive. In the gestures that inspired others, in the hearts you touched without even realizing it, in the stories that changed course because at the right moment you were there. And if it still weighs on you today, if it still hurts today, if you're still wondering when will it be your turn to be seen, know that this moment is closer than you think. Because what you have given to the world, what you have done for those who crossed your path has not been lost. It is coming back. Slowly, quietly, unexpectedly. But it is coming back. And when it arrives, you will understand that it was all worth it. And when everything comes back to you, it will not be in the way you imagined. It won't be an apology from those who left you alone, nor a late acknowledgement from those who never valued you. It will be much greater than that. It will be the peace you haven't felt in a long time. It will be the certainty that, even on the toughest days, you did what needed to be done. It will be the understanding that the good you spread never needed an audience. Because what is true doesn't require applause to have value. You will realize this on the day when, without warning, you feel the weight lift. In the moment when you look around and see that you are no longer alone. In the voice that comes to tell you what you have wanted to hear for so long. I see you. I recognize what you did. I am grateful for you. And it may not necessarily be said in words. It will be a gesture, a presence that was not there before but now remains. A simple action, yet filled with meaning. And then you will understand. You will realize that your journey was never in vain. You will feel deep in your soul that your role in the world has been fulfilled in the most beautiful way possible. Not because you expected something in return, but because your essence never needed that. The good you did was not a bargaining chip. It was a seed. And now, after so much time, it is blossoming. And you can finally rest, because your presence, your love, your giving, all of this has left marks that even time cannot erase. And one day, when you least expect it, someone will do for you what you did for so many. And now perhaps it's your turn to realize something important. You were never alone. In moments when it seemed like no one noticed your efforts, someone noticed. On days when you felt forgotten, someone remembered. In times when you thought everything you did was in vain, the truth is that your impact was greater than you think. You may not have received the gratitude you deserved. You might have felt overwhelmed, invisible. But every gesture you made, every time you stayed when you could have walked away, every word you said to uplift someone, all of that mattered. And now, it's coming back to you. Not because you demanded it, not because you insisted, but because life always finds a way to return everything we do. So breathe. Trust. Understand that your worth does not depend on the validation of others, but on the strength of who you are. And when someone reaches out to you, when you feel that this time it's you who is being cared for, remember, this is a reflection of what you've built. Now I want to know from you, have you ever felt that you did something for someone and didn't get anything in return? Have you realized that your presence mattered to someone, even without hearing a thank you? Comment below, I want to hear your story. Let's strengthen this message together. And if this text touched you in any way, give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because we still have so much to discuss. What you do in the world matters. Never doubt that.